Happy Saturday, everyone. Welcome to MVP on this July 26th. We are going to be talking about Fantastic Four First Steps. I'm going to keep it spoiler free because I think a lot of people aren't giving this movie a chance, and deservedly so. The MCU, Marvel, Disney do not deserve the benefit of the doubt. And with the marketing of this movie between Pedro Pascal and Vanessa Kirby, I understand the reluctance. With the current state of the MCU, nothing has been good. The three movies that have been decent, Deadpool and Wolverine, not an MCU movie. Spider-Man No Way Home, not really an MCU movie. And Guardians of the Galaxy 3, which was a holdover from better times. So Fantastic Four has a lot going against it. Interestingly enough, I have gotten more crap for giving Fantastic Four an 8 than I have for giving Superman a 4. And realistically, I think the movies have a lot in common. I wouldn't be surprised if there was a treatment on a Marvel storyboard that James Gunn took a look at and held over for Superman, because a lot of the beats are very much the same between these two movies. However, the Fantastic Four does a really good job of implementing them all. So without further ado, let's get into the box office very quickly, as we don't have a ton of information yet. But the numbers has Fantastic Four First Steps at $57 million domestic, $49.2 million international, for a worldwide box office total of $106.2 million. This is going to be really interesting to follow, because I think this movie, if the word of mouth is positive, will have legs. Superman is benefiting from that massive marketing campaign. You can go online right now and you will still see shill after shill after shill review on that movie that are not true. But when it comes to Fantastic Four, they avoided most of that, and it's kind of like let the movie speak for itself, and I think it does. So let me start off by saying, how could I give Fantastic Four an 8? And that's because I treated it as what it is. It is a self-contained film. It's not an MCU film. It does not tie into anything that exists in the MCU currently. So we have to judge it on that. This is more if Marvel decided to make their first Fantastic Four movie, their first comic book movie. This is not a continuation of things before it. And while we do know in real world times that this is going to end up in Doomsday, and I really think it's going to end up in Doomsday, this movie has to be judged on exactly what it is. And it is a retro 1960s futuristic Jack Kirby love letter, and I think it was done extremely well. Do I have my little gripes? Yes, I'll get into some of them, but I think we need to dispel some of the problems that people think may be in this film that actually aren't. So let's talk right from the top with Vanessa Kirby. Vanessa Kirby Sue Storm is not a girl boss at all. In this movie, she is a traditional 60s wife and mother, which I know is completely contradictory to what even Vanessa Kirby has said in interviews. But she's not a girl boss here. She goes from a wife, a mother, a sister, well, a wife and sister, to being a mother, a super powerful mama bear. And we have to treat Sue Storm with respect here, because she is, and always has been, ridiculously powerful. So everything that Vanessa Kirby has said is essentially crap. She did a good job. The character was written well. There's nothing woke or girl boss about her. And that's that. Now, the next major point of contention was the Silver Surfer. And this, I get it. I'm a Fantastic Four fan. I have been in the books for, I'm pushing, well, no, I'm over 50 now. So I've been around the Fantastic Four for a long time. And I love the Silver Surfer. I love the Fantastic Four. And the Silver Surfer in this movie is appropriate for this movie. And anyone that's going to say, and anyone that has said, well, it needed to be Norrin Rad, we would all be screaming. I would be pissed if this story was the same story but featured Norrin Rad, Silver Surfer. It wouldn't have worked at all. And that is not because of the male to female transition. It's due to this story. And later on, the MCU can bring in their version of Norrin Rad without doing any damage to the character. I see it. You could argue it was just a gender swap for no reason, but you would be wrong. There's a purpose here to it. And I think it's multifaceted. She goes with the story. Her and Johnny's relationship in it is interesting. It's a good dynamic. And she's not in it long enough to even really become a character. And if I had to say any of that about Norrin Rad, even taking away the Johnny relationship, and we're going to get into that, I'd be pissed. And so would you. We just need to call it out for what it is. This works in this specific movie. Johnny, he's a player. He likes women. He's not a mimbo like Chris Evans was. He's intelligent. He solves problems. I would believe he could be an astronaut. He does have intelligence. He thinks things through. He is a real man. He's willing to make the sacrifice. He is a fantastic character. God, I hate using the word fantastic. But he's good. Ebon Moss Backrack, which is the most Klingon-sounding name I have ever heard. Much respect to his parents, or if he picked it himself, good on you, man. Good on you. He was great. Absolutely great. The Thing was great. Ben was great. I wish there was more time with him, but I get why there wasn't. They established everything they needed to establish with this character going forward, and enough that it made him work in the movie. I could say I wanted to see more of every one of these characters. Galactus. Ralph Ineson. Amazing character. Galactus is terrifying. Ralph Ineson could portray this character in a way that Josh Brolin did with Thanos. There is a terrifying aspect to Galactus, and this Galactus embodies the original. It really harkens into the comic book. You can say he needed to be bigger or smaller, or his size changes depending upon which run you're reading, what story you're into. But in every way, Ralph Ineson works. He is a presence, and you feel it. The only complaint is I want to see more of him. I really would like to see a director's cut of this film, or, oh my God, I hate even admitting this, a sequel done in this world. That if we weren't going forward on the trajectory into Doomsday and Secret Wars, there was potential for this movie to kick off a nice trilogy. In fact, I think there was enough in this movie that if you really explored it, you could add two very good stories. The script was extremely tight. Now, Pedro. I have Pedro Pascal fatigue. I am a firm believer that if you put an actor in everything, sooner or later they're going to become so oversaturated it is impossible to watch them in a role and believe they are the character they are embodying. That being said, Pedro Pascal did a passable job as Reed Richards. The Reed Richards that they introduced in the Fantastic Four was a hardcore, intelligent leader. Pedro did a good job of it. He didn't take a back seat to Kirby. He was absolutely the leader. He came up with the plans. He executed everything. I, as much as I hate him, and I do hate Pedro Pascal with a passion, he does a serviceable job as Reed Richards. It does not take away from the movie whatsoever, so I can't hold that against the film itself. But a warning going forward. This is why you need to cast fresh actors. When you have somebody like Pedro, and there were a few scenes where, much like The Mandalorian, there was a baby in a pram. The pram looked just like little baby Yoda's carriage. So you got that flash. It wasn't enough to take you out of it, but it was certainly a nod. Whether it was put in there intentionally or not, I can't say. It's a 50-50 shot because it works aesthetically, but it is also a nod to The Mandalorian. And I caught a couple little Star Wars nods in here. I caught a few Transformers nods. But this was a very comic book movie. But for me, the star of this freaking movie was Herby. Herby was awesome. He was everything he needed to be in this film without becoming a crypto or a baby Yoda. He was there. He had a specific roles to play. He felt like a member of the family and not just a tool. But when he needed to be, he was the necessary tool. He was that pair of pliers. He was that autopilot. And that's something this movie, and a lot of movies actually could use, is more structure around a supporting bit character. And Herby, I buy him as a character. Now, what else do you need to know going into this film? I think that is a fair question to ask. It is, again, self-contained. This is not an MCU phase whatever movie. This is a standalone. Enjoy it as such, and you will enjoy it as such. You have to go into this just wanting to see a film. If there was one cameo of Robert Downey Jr.'s face or one tie-in to the MCU, this movie would drop for me from an 8 to a 6.5 because I would have to consider it an MCU movie. However, it didn't do that. It got past all of the hang-ups it needed to be its own film. And that elevates the movie to me. Also, you have to dispel the reality of the MCU as it exists currently, because this, again, doesn't fall into that. This is a Jack Kirby comic book. Not a superhero movie, it's a comic book movie. This is something we really don't see. They tried it with Superman, it didn't work. It works here. My criticisms of this movie are nitpicks for the most part. I'd like to see some of the sequences longer. There were some stories that they cut out, especially with John Malkovich's character wasn't in the film. I'd like to see a director's cut where he's put back in and his story is elongated. Now that's a double-edged sword coming to Marvel, because what they cut might have been to satisfy fans like me, or it could have been for time. and fear, because I do think Marvel felt a little bit of fear committing to this comic book world entirely. Near the final third, and this is where most of my problems come from, they are minor gripes, but they're still there and they need to be called out. It needed to be longer. Also, the color needed to be more vibrant in the final third of the movie. That would have took this over the top and might have earned even higher of a score. These are things, however, that are easily corrected. I do have to note that the CGI you saw in the trailers is fake. It's unfinished. What you see in the movie is polished. Johnny Flames on, everything looks good. Everything's well done and thought out for the world that they're in. So if you're looking to enjoy a self-contained comic book movie with a cast of characters that are enjoyable to watch, in a story that is enjoyable to watch, that you don't have to do any homework for, that you just want to eat some popcorn, have a good time with, this is the film to do it with. Now, if you think forward into Doomsday and Secret Wars and what's to come, and you wrap it into this, it is going to pull you out fast. So the main point when you go into this film, anticipate you're opening up a comic book that is fresh, off the rack. It hasn't been abused. It just came in off the truck. No one's read through it. There's no Cheeto stains. This is all you. This is a day one release. If you go into it like that, I think you're really going to like it. But I want to hear your honest opinions in the comments. Call me out if you think I'm wrong. And if you go into this movie where you weren't going to see it, and this review maybe made you go in there, I definitely want to hear your thoughts. So until later on, and there will be a later with this because I have no idea how this box office is going to shake out. This is going to be really, really interesting to follow. But until next time, like the video, subscribe to the channel. Please leave comments on this. And until next time, take it easy.